from Alpha Canada here, and I want to help you get started with running Alpha for you and your students. And so we're going to talk about 5 ways of how to get started running Alpha, but more importantly, I want to share a quick 3 things that you can do to empower students to be a part of running Alpha. 3 ways that Alpha really helps empower students to be on mission. So first things first, the first one that I want to share with you is around the idea that students get empowered when they realize they can bring their friends. One of the most famous statements in youth ministry of all time is, bring your friends. And we are constantly wanting to encourage our students to think about how they can bring their friends. And one of the best ways to think about creating an engaging environment for your students with running Alpha or just any sort of youth ministry is for them to think about which friends they're going to invite and what their friends are looking forward to being a part of. If students really feel like they're going to invite their friends to something, that's a good litmus test for whether this program, this event, this initiative is going to be invitational. And so one of the great ways that you can do that is maybe by starting to create a small leadership team for your students, thinking about getting a few of them together to ask them, hey, how do we make this night, this Alpha, this season, the most invitational it can be? And it's by actually asking them, putting the ball in their court around what would make it a place that they want to bring their friends. Alpha works best when it is a place for students to bring their friends. Not just another Christian hangout, not just another place for kids from other youth groups to come, but that it's truly a place that their friends feel like they want to be there. And so I want to encourage you to think about, how is your Alpha going to be invitational? How is it going to be a place for your students to feel comfortable to bring their friends? So put it to them. Ask them the question. Create a team. We've heard lots of stories of students building student leadership teams for the games, to do the opener, to think through worship, think through how they're going to do it. If you guys are doing it online, how they can engage with their friends online, what could be the giveaways. Put the ball and the power into your students' hands, and they're going to be way more inclined to invite them, their friends, to something that they've owned, that they've developed, that they've created, rather than something that you've created to invite their friends to. So think about how you can empower them to think through, how do we make this the most invitational initiative? Number 2, and how Alpha can help empower your students to be on mission, is by empowering them to do things that they are good at. For them to help with things that they are good at. What do I mean by this? Alpha is designed to build teams, to build students in various roles and things that they can be a part of. And Alpha has multiple different roles. Everything from creating the food, to the fun, to the atmosphere, to the games, to the hosting, to worship. All of those things require unique giftings and roles. Now, even in an online reality, if you're running Alpha online, this is a great place to tap some students on their shoulder and say, hey, what does online Alpha look like? What are some fun ways that we can engage students in an Alpha online? And so what you want to do is begin to think about the different gifts and skill sets that you have amongst your teams, amongst your students, and then begin to think, ask them the question, what could you do to contribute? You know, when students feel like they're contributing based on their gifting, that is the perfect formula for them to find meaning in being a part of the youth group. And so think about, what could they contribute to be a part of the Alpha? Lastly, is we see that Alpha allows them to feel more confident in what they believe in. You see, Alpha is definitely designed for people that are far from the church, or have never been to church, or wouldn't call themselves a Christian. But not only that, but Alpha is a great resource to allow students that have maybe grown up in the church to actually become more confident in what they believe. As it walks through the basics of Christianity, we begin to see that students that wrestle through their own doubts and fears and ask their own questions alongside the articulation of the gospel, we begin to see that they begin to understand and know the truths and foundations of who Jesus really is over the course of of the 9 or 10 weeks. And so Alpha is a great way to empower and equip students because it equips them with the actual good news, with the gospel, over a series of 9 or 10 weeks through discussion and through wrestling and through conversation with their friends. And so it's a great place for if you're thinking through, how do I get my kids to know the gospel, understand the good news? Well, this is a great tool for that. So how do you run a great Alpha? What does it look like? 5 steps to planning and preparing to run a great Alpha. First, step number 1 is to make a plan. This might sound really, really obvious, but really for you to consider what the plan is going to be, when you're going to start, when you're going to end. You build out your schedule. All of these resources are available for you on alphacanada.org for you to plan and promote your Alpha. But we've got some planning schedules of what a typical night would look like of running Alpha. Even if you're running it online, we've got some details of how to run that, what a typical session would look like. But don't forsake the planning period. Some of you might think, hey, it's really easy. We just throw a video on, and to a degree,